Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Emily. Today I've got some landscape fabric here and I am going to put that on the rest of this new garden plot. After I put the potatoes and the green beans in, the rest of the stuff I'll be able to cut holes in this landscape fabric and then plant in that. I'm also going to take down the electric fence, mow underneath where it had been, and then put the landscape fabric down there and then put it back up. So there's a lot to do today. It's all got to get done before evening so that the deer fence can be back up and protect my garden, because I've got a lot more stuff planted now. I got this row weeded out. Last you saw it, it was still completely covered in weeds. There's tomatoes all down the trellis, and then there's celery, cilantro, dill, cumin, some zinnias, and some basil. And way down at the end, a bunch of calendula. So there's a whole bunch of stuff planted here. And I must say, my celery looks pretty amazing. So I'm excited about that. I've got some dill, cilantro, and the cumin that look pretty wimpy. Got a lot of transplant shock, so hopefully they will bounce back after a few days. I've been making sure to keep them well watered in the meantime, but we'll just have to wait and see how those turn out. So let's get started with taking down this electric fence. That sure is not an easy thing. It was almost as hard to take it down as it was to put it up. But yeah, I've watched people using these nets on YouTube for years and years and years. And sure, the people I'm watching have probably put them up, taken them down hundreds and thousands of times even. And they just make it look super easy. Maybe it will be easy for me one day, but just the sheer weight of everything is a lot. It is a pretty tall fence. It's designed for deer in a garden. So it's a lot bigger than those chicken fences or pig fences or sheep fences. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go take a water break before I start mowing, I think. Grass and weeds have rerouted themselves and started growing in various places throughout this tilled area, but there's one section in particular that I'm going to tackle to actually pull out the grass before I get this landscape fabric down, because it's pretty dense. There's places like this where there's just a few pieces of grass. I mean, that's a little bad, but this right here, this clump is pretty substantial. There's another one down there that's not too great. So while it may not be necessary, I'm not really used to using landscape fabric. I've only done it a couple times. It may not be necessary to pull this stuff out, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just in case, just to give myself the best chance, especially if this ends up being in a row and that's where I'm going to plant something and there's that dense grass already rooted there. I really want to avoid that. I recruited some help. We're going to get this landscape fabric rolled out and hopefully it'll go pretty quick. decided to burn the ends of this so that it stops fraying, because it's frayed pretty bad. And this will help prevent it from fraying. It is the next day. We ran out of battery power on my camera, and then we were going to run out of light, so we went ahead and just put up the fence for the night, and we're going to have to take it back down so we can finish putting the landscape fabric back up. Also, to save time yesterday, so we could get as much done as possible, I was putting the garden staples in every maybe 6 feet or something, not very close together like we were previously, and we got more done. But also the wind last night or this morning has blown stuff around. When the camera ran out of battery, we got to about to the point where I just finished putting down this piece, and that piece had a gap between the two. Well, we went ahead and took that piece up and scooted it over to overlap this piece, and then put the fence back up. I think we put the fence in too far in, actually, because we ended up back in that corner with way too much slack. We should have ended up with less slack than that. So I think we put this too close. It probably needs to be out more. So when we put it up again today, that we will move it farther back, and hopefully it will end up being accurate. Now, the downside to that is we poked holes in the landscape fabric there, so stuff is going to probably try to grow up through those holes. But also that might end up being another garden bed so it could be, we plant something in those holes, but not sure yet. We'll have to get everything measured out and burn hole. We're going to try to burn holes for when we want to plant things. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that. But that'll probably be the last area that gets planted when we get around to it. Since my help is not over here yet to help me, I'm going to start with just trying to repin this and pin it down more securely with additional garden staples. I did drop the staples where I wanted them later, but it looks like the wind has kind of blown those away too, so I'm going to be going on a little hunt to find all the garden staples. I hope I can find them all. I have discovered something quite frustrating and very unexpected. A lesson here for anyone who hasn't done landscape fabric before that I just learned is never, ever, ever leave it partially pinned down. Just do lots of staples, because this happened. It seems to have shrunk. It's a really hot day, so maybe that's why, but I cannot pull this over to this other piece. And I don't think I can pull this over to that piece either. So now I'm feeling a bit defeated. Does this mean we have to take up all 3 of these pieces? Because that stinks. I can't see what else we would need to do that would fix this without just putting a whole nother row of landscape fabric down over the gap, but that seems even more ridiculous than taking this up and moving it. I will go consult with my husband and get him out here to help me, and I'll be back in a little bit. We are back out here much, much later. It got really, really hot and it was miserable to be outside, so we decided to just come back out after dinner. So it's still hot, but not as hot, and we're going to take up these last 3 pieces and move them. So they're gonna go down so they can go underneath that last piece that goes along the end, and then the next piece will get moved down and moved over, and then the last piece will get moved over. So we're basically redoing almost half of what we did yesterday. Great. I've left the fence mostly up. It's not connected there in the middle right now, but we will just scoot it back in when we're done, because this is not going to be finished today, unfortunately. We are going to call that good enough with the landscape fabric for today and just get back to working on the fence so we're not out here after dark. There's still a couple hours, but it's also crazy hot and humid, and we're really tired. So we're just gonna listen to our bodies telling us that's enough and try to fix this fence back up and then call it a night. Thank you for hanging out with us the last couple of days. This did not go as I thought it would or planned it to in my head, but I guess that's what happens when you're doing something that you've never done before. Live and learn. So hopefully soon we'll be able to get the rest of the landscape fabric down where we would like it to be and get the rest of my garden planted for the year. But thanks for hanging out, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!